day, fellow investors. In this video, we'll discuss 4 Latin American airport stocks that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. 3 Mexican airports and 1 mostly Argentinian, but with other airports owned across the world. Very interesting risk-reward investing situations. So I'll give you my analysis. I've been analyzing the airport stocks globally for the last 3 weeks. So it's 3 weeks of work in this video. 10-15 minute video, so I think you'll appreciate the value that I give you here. So please, for a thank you, just like this video and subscribe and click that notification bell if you like these kinds of videos, because I won't be making a lot of them because it takes 2-3 weeks to learn enough about the businesses to make a video, in addition with 20 years of experience. So don't forget to subscribe, and let's start with the analysis. Alright, so I'll give you an overview of what I did over the last few weeks, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of value here, especially if you're interested in owning a stock, a moat-worthy business like an airport. So you go to my blog, svenkarlin.com, and you will see all the initial analysis that I made on all airport stocks. There is even an airport stock list on the second page because these were all done. So airport stock list, you click here and you have also the investment thesis, and you have analysis on most of the airports that are traded publicly around the world. I still have to do a little bit of Asia, but that will come too. So there is the investment thesis, what to watch, why it is very interesting opportunity now in difficult times to buy airports. And you have here European airport stocks from Europe list, UK just Stobart, but okay. And then here we come to the analysis of the Mexican airports and Corporación América airport. So let me give you a quick introduction on each stock, and then you can read this if you're... Oh, don't forget to subscribe to my free value investing course and newsletter, so to get more value from investing. Thank you. Now, if you go to the blog, you can read airports. We'll go through a discussion here on each of these analyses. So it will give you an overview of what it is. The return, the risk reward is very positive. So four times possible return for OMAP, 2, 3, 4 times from ASR, and also 2, 3, 4 times for Pacifico, up to 7 times return, but this is more of ugly value investment here. So very positive risk reward situations for all of the companies here. Let's start. Corporación América airports. I'll give you the key things that are happening here. If you look at the stock price since the IPO, terrible performance, looks like it will go bankrupt, but the key is that they can't go bankrupt because yes, they have 1.2 billion in debt, but if you look at the corporate structure there, then you can see that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 airports under the holding company that is traded in Luxembourg, and those companies have the debt. So it's non-recourse debt. If these airports in Argentina can't pay the debt, they go bankrupt. This company has a loss, but still the ownership of the other 6, 7 airports, 6 airports, 5 airports, 4 airports, depending on how many go bankrupt, is still there. So that's very interesting. However, the debt interest rates compared to European airports are 6, 7, 8% compared to 1% in Europe. So it's a tough situation. Plus, I've looked at the concessions. Those expire relatively soon. So that's also something you have to watch. But if things improve in Argentina, and they are improving a little bit, Italy will probably do good alongside tourism, Europe, etc. Then EBITDA in 2019 was 400 million times 10, 12 for airports usually. This is a 4 billion stock. The current market capitalization is 400 million. So that's 5 to 10x potential. It can go back to IPO levels. However, that's the risk. The that's the reward. The risk is that this remains an ugly play. Each bad news plague it for a long time. Then you never know what the owner will do, etc., etc. But if you want, let's say, value investment a la Graham, where you say, okay, three of these 7 airports are worth more than 400 million, so it's a value investment, but it's not a fancy business, it's not a beautiful business, it's a good business that has some concession issues. I don't know where I wrote about the concessions. So 46, 43, 28, Argentina, yes, 30-year term ending in 2028. So this is the main issue. It ends in just 10 years. Other airports a little bit longer. So this is why I say, okay, not a beautiful business, but could be a bet play. Let's go to more interesting businesses where concessions end in 2048. Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacifico, the dividend on the current stock price, if things return to normal like those were in 2019, is already 8%. It won't be 8%, it will go down to 4%, which means also 100% capital gain is possible. The stock did extremely well over the years. Growth in Mexico, people taking more planes because they don't want to sit in a bus for 12 hours to go from city to city. So really high growth, emerging market, everything booming. Pacifico, Guadalajara, Tijuana. So those are the airports, mostly leisure, but also economic development. That's what you are investing for, mostly public float structure. And you can see here the airports, key airports is of course Guadalajara, or however do I pronounce that. They have the key point when it comes to Mexican airports is traffic growth. Less and less people using the bus to go around and more people using the plane, especially those low cost, so it's much more convenient and everything. Sitting on a bus for 10-12 hours is not comparable to sitting on the same bus for an hour and a half, but just flying. So passenger performance dependent on the low-cost airline there, Volaris, but still they have to invest significant amounts of money over the next 4 years due to the master development plan that's written in the concession agreement. The key, if we go to look at cash flows, are the incredible operating cash flows that reach significant amounts of money, 8 billion pesos divided by 22 point something. We are at cash flow rates of what? $361 million. So compared to the market cap, that is a 10, 12, 15% cash flow, operating cash flow yield on your investment. Of course, there are investments to be made as we have seen, but when those investments are made and the growth comes from those investments, then we can see similar dividend growth payments, dividend growth in the future like it has been the case over the last few years, and that's the investment thesis. And when the dividend returns to 2019 level, and if it even grows, that's a 2-4 bagger out there over the next 10 years. The key issue, and also made the dividend model here, you can download the dividend stock valuation that I made here, present value calculated. The concessions end in 2048. The market will not start thinking about those concessions up to 2030, 2030 something. So if things improve in 2025, 2026, they will still value it at a 4% growth stock, and you can quadruple your money in 5 years. The risks are always there, that takes time to get back to growth, that it's a bit difficult to get good loans, etc. But the growth there, Mexico expected growth, economic growth, 2.76% per year, long term, middle class growth, more traveling, etc. Perhaps less trade with China, more trade with Mexico. And you have a really, really good return on investment. So see how it fits. You might want to read all the articles here on all the stocks. Let's go to Grupo
Aeroportuario del Sureste, south of Mexico, mostly Cancun, also amazing performance over the last 10-15 years, especially as Cancun developed touristically. Most shares traded free float, so focused on dividends, the same as Pacifico, also 8% dividend potential, 100% gain possible if there is more growth in the future. We are again talking about more and more growth ahead. So you have here the thesis. Feel free to read them, see how it fits you. I'm not buying Mexican airports because I don't like the 2048 concession ending, when everything that they own will be owned again by the Mexican nation. However, if we go to the dividend model that I made, if I put an 8% discount rate, dividend resumption to what was before with some growth 2025, and then present value of those, then 8% return, sum of present values, from a dividend perspective is close to the current stock price. You can download it as I said. But this is just from a dividend value perspective if you look at an 8% return. But if the market looks at this $8 dividend on a $100 stock price, they will say this is impossible. Let's put a 4% dividend yield. You have a 8% dividend yield on cost and a 200 stock price, mostly depending on, let's say, Guadalajara leisure economic development. Different, not so leisure-oriented stock, OMAB, so Centro Norte, Monterrey is the focus, the industrial heart of Monterrey, the growth there, and also can benefit if Mexico develops also from that industrial perspective. Then OMAP didn't see such an increase over the last few years as the other two have seen, because their big investment cycle that the others have already done in part will still arrive in the next 5 years from OMAP. So if the cycle ends over the next 5 years, they have to spend a lot of money. Let me show you. Their expectations are 15 billion pesos. Their cash flows are around 3 billion pesos, 3.7. They have no debt because they didn't enter such a big capex cycle, but they still might be able to pay these dividends. When the cycle is over, they might quadruple these dividends or even more if there is growth. They invest in growth, new terminals, and that's what would possibly also quadruple the stock if there is the growth. Depending on the growth rate, I came to different valuations for OMAB, but you have to see how what fits your portfolio. 10% growth rate from 2025, 1.5%, 5% growth rate. So that's the investment thesis. It's the most likely scenario. It is that it will triple or quadruple. So see how it fits you, whether you want to own something like that. These concessions that end in 2048 might be extended. So I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Subscribe here to get these articles in your email. Please subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to your comments. Please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.